Let it be warned, the legal voters of the town of Jamaica and the county of Windham in the state of Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at 10 a.m. at the town hall in said town of Jamaica on the first Tuesday of March, March 3rd, 2026, to transact the following business and act upon the following articles. Before we get started, we have Laura Sibilia, our state rep here, so she's going to talk a little bit about and update us on the executive. Laura?
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all. I love town meeting. Even when we don't agree, it's great to have us all gathered together, practicing democracy and governing our communities and state. I have this morning a resolution that I'd like to read. House concurrent resolution honoring the decades of extraordinary civic participation and leadership of Lexa and Steve Clark in the town of Jamaica. Whereas the breadth of Lexa Clark's public service is diverse, but it has strongly focused on the provision of emergency services, as she initially enrolled in EMT courses during the 1970s, was instrumental in organizing the Jamaica Rescue Squad, and still dutifully responds to every rescue call. And whereas from 1979 to 1980, she closely monitored Jamaica's finances as the town's auditor and bookkeeper. And whereas for a dozen years, Lexa Clark served on the Jamaica Selectboard, 2006 to 2018, and admirably met the unique challenge of chairing the panel when Tropical Storm Irene devastated the town to an unprecedented extent. And recently, she has assumed a governance role at the Jamaica Memorial Library. And whereas Steve Clark's roles at the Jamaica Village Cemetery began as a youth and have included serving as both secretary and treasurer, and whereas among his municipal panel memberships were the village school board from 1982 to 1985, and the planning commission from 1979 to 1988. And whereas for over half a century, Steve Clark was associated with the town's fire and rescue services, including as treasurer and auditor, and was proud of his designation as an honorary member of the fire department. And whereas for 52 years, Steve Clark served as Jamaica's Trustee of Public Funds, for 3 decades as the town's grand juror, and since 2005 as the Jamaica Historical Foundation president, and professionally for nearly a quarter century, Steve Clark was a Vermont National Bank vice president. And whereas Lexa and Steve Clark exemplify outstanding municipal citizenship. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly honors the decades of extraordinary civic participation and leadership of Lexa and Steve Clark in the town of Jamaica. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to Lexa and Steve Clark. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we have another.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chuck Bosworth. I own Four Winds Street Care here in town, and I'm a captain of the fire department. I'm here to read a speech on our fire chief's behalf. Mr. Scott Gordon. So I'll get into that. As Chief of Jamaica Volunteer Fire and Rescue, I would like to take a moment to recognize Steve and Lexa Clark for their lifetime of service to this community. Their dedication to serving the residents of Jamaica and surrounding towns as well has been unmatched in my opinion. When my family and I moved back to Jamaica 7 years ago, I was asked if I would like to join the department. Lexa Clark was one of the first members I met. She welcomed me right away. Steve and Lexa became fast friends of my family and have become surrogate grandparents to our daughters. They're like family to us. It didn't take long to realize that almost all of the Jamaica community is like family to Steve and Lexa. There has not been an emergency call I've been on where Lexa didn't know the patient or the family. I have seen the look of relief and comfort on patients' faces when they see Lexa walking in with a lime jacket and orange medical bag. They know it's not just a stranger, it's their friend from home. Steve Clark served for many years in the department, and though I haven't had the pleasure to serve alongside him, having heard some of the tales of those times, I wish I had. Stories of building a skating pond for the kids in the winter, patrolling the streets at Halloween to make sure everyone was safe, and of course, tales of fire and rescue at a time when the department was a small percentage of the size of it is now. Steve's humor and wit brightens every room I've ever been in with him, and I'm proud to call him my friend. Lexa Clark was instrumental in forming the Jamaica Rescue Squad and has been its backbone since it was formed. She continues to serve as rescue captain and most likely goes to more calls than the rest of the department. She is our longest serving member and has cared for our department like no one has before. On behalf of my family, Jamaica Volunteer Fire and Rescue, and the entire Jamaica community, I would like to thank Steve and Lexa Clark for their lifetime of service to their community, for being outstanding neighbors and cherished friends from the bottom of our hearts. Scott Gordon.
Go ahead. Laura's going to have some other things to talk about.
Okay, and so I'm happy, I'll give you a few brief updates about what I've been up to and then answer questions to the extent that you would like to hear them. I need to try and leave by 10:30 to meet with Stratton next. Briefly, I have provided an update, printed update. It's over with the town clerk, and I do have a weekly update that goes out so you can sign up on my website. Thank you all for electing me. I am now in my 6th term in the legislature. This is my 2nd term representing Jamaica. Serve on the Environment and Digital Infrastructure Committee in the House. And I also am a co-chair of the Rural Caucus and also of the Vermont National Guard and Veterans Affairs Caucus. This year, the big issue for me has been around Act 250 reform. In 2022, the legislature passed Act 181, which is a major reform of Act 250. It calls for Act 250 to be applicable based on where you are as opposed to what your project is, which is a big change. So there's mapping happening throughout the state and rulemaking happening by the Land Use Review Board, that's the Natural Resources Board. This is historic work, and the Rural Caucus has led an effort which has a lot of agreement to delay that work, to make sure that Vermonters can keep apace with the changes, can participate in the rulemaking, and can understand the impacts potentially to their land before this goes in place. We have agreement and support from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, the Vermont Chamber, the Regional Planning Commissions, and others. That work is happening right now in the Senate. That has been really a big issue for me this year. In addition, our committee has focused on notice when copper landlines are changed for fiber. This is happening throughout our state, and there's a difference between copper and fiber in terms of your ability to call for help if the power is out. And so that's a pretty serious issue that we want to stay on top of. Consolidated has been switching and retiring their copper. In order to do that, they need the federal government's permission. And when they go to get the federal government's permission, there are very few people that are noticed. The governor is noticed, the Public Utility Commission is noticed, and the Secretary of Defense is noticed. Customers get a small marketing piece in their bills. And so we have found that people's understanding of what's happening has not matched the timeline. So our committee has worked on increasing notice, both to the 911 board, to the Department of Public Service, and really providing more information to customers about your rights and consumer protection law in the state of Vermont. In addition, I think this is a town that that has the local option tax on something. Is that true?
We do. We have it on sales tax.
Yes. So the local option tax, many of you know, that is, I love looking around and seeing people that I know. No, there's Kate. So local option tax, before it was 70% the town was able to retain, and 30% the state would use for payment in lieu of taxes. That's payments to towns that host state buildings. More and more towns have been raising local option tax, electing to do that, although it is still a minority of Vermont towns. And as they have been doing that, a surplus has been gathering. I think I talked with you all maybe about this last year at town meeting. Surpluses are not good things to gather in state government. People are always looking for money. So last year, the governor proposed using some of that surplus for flood recovery, and in response, there was a change. Towns are now able to keep 75%, 25% to the state. However, more towns have elected to tax themselves with the local option tax. And so that surplus is growing. And once again, this year, there is reaching in and saying, oh, let's take $8 million of that out for the statewide reappraisal. So this is a problem for me. You all had to discuss amongst yourselves whether or not you wanted to raise that tax here in your town. You understood the parameters by which you were doing that. And so I'm hoping that this year we're actually going to talk about and change the law about what those dollars can be used for. I don't think it's appropriate for you to vote for it to be used for one thing and then the state to decide they'll be using it for something else. In addition, in terms of energy, there's a lot to be said about energy. I'll tell you one thing that I'm working on, which is the siting of data centers. I don't know if folks have heard about data centers. It's a huge, huge thing that is happening in the country. Some states saw this as a boom, property tax revenue, et cetera. They are enormous consumers of electricity and water. They make a lot of noise. They don't bring a lot of jobs. They do pay property tax. They also may invest significantly in public infrastructure so they can use it. We don't think that it's really that likely that we will see a data center in Vermont, but if we did, or even in New England, it could be very impactful to our electric rates. And so our committee is working on, if a data center were to come to Vermont, how would we want that to locate here? And to make sure that we understand if we have environmental laws and water laws and energy laws in place that would protect Vermonters. Finally, I would say in terms of the education reform debate, and I know Jamaica continues to have heartache around education. These are difficult discussions in the legislature as well. It is always that way, and it is always where can we get enough votes to move forward. It is that divisive in the legislature. In the House, you need 76 people to agree. which is very hard on education. In the Senate, you need 16 to agree, also very hard. And then the governor needs to agree. This year, the governor has said that he will not sign a budget or education law if we do not continue to proceed with education reform in Act 73. I believe the language that he used provides flexibility for what that might be, but that is still unfolding. Right now, there are 2 maps, which one should think about as governance maps. These are consolidation of boards that are being contemplated. And a lot to say about that, also really nothing to say about it at the same time. It is very unclear. So I will leave it at that. I'm happy to take questions. I also will say I have decided that I would like to run again to represent you. I have petitions circulating here. I hope to be able to grab them and take them to Stratton, so if you would send them towards the back if you have them. And Mr. Moderator, I'll take questions as long as you would like.
Question? Kate?
TV Fiber?
Yes.
Do you know what the status is of their progress towards other towns like Jamaica?
So, I don't want to, is there anybody from TV Fiber here? No, okay.
And
Not
our
mine either.
representative on the JPC's not here.
Yeah.
He actually will, because we're now looking for an affiliate, to be affiliated status.
I don't know what
Because
that
we
means.
can't, in other words, we're not part of the CUD anymore. We're not part,
Oh,
yeah, but we will be represented by an affiliated town.
okay. Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah,
It just happened
last
last
few weeks, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's here.
Is there anybody on the JPC? I unfortunately, I'm a recipient of the information instead of a participant, not a member of the JPC. Essentially, Consolidated was awarded the RFP for the area that includes Jamaica. DV Fiber did not. However, and of course our concern is that means the last mile, which is the folks that are the most rural and the farthest from a more densely populated area, will not be adequately served by broadband, which is one of the reasons why our communication unions district was really working very closely with DV Fiber. So DV Fiber is not gone, it's just unfortunately was not awarded Jamaica.
Okay, so that I understood.
Okay.
When I heard you say you were unaffiliated, I'm
Well,
like,
that
did you
means-
guys leave the CUD?
Well,
Like,
so because of that,
Yeah.
right, our role in the CUD
Yeah.
is minimized,
Yes.
and our representative he's retiring, he's
Okay.
well-deserved retirement from those roles. But Jamaica does have an option to be represented, so we don't actually have a formal vote on the
Yes.
CUD, but we would have another town would serve as our kind of representative. We'd have an indirect vote, and of course we can always attend. But that's our legal status right now.
Yes, okay, great. So BEAD is the money, broadband equity, I'm gonna forget it, but it was hundreds of millions of dollars that were awarded to states, and billions actually to states. And this is, areas had to bid, or companies had to bid on different areas. And I understand this area, Consolidated provided the lowest bid for getting to your addresses. And so that had to be taken into account by the Vermont Community Broadband Board. So, I would just encourage you all, though, if you have challenges, please continue to reach out to me, reach out to the Department of Public Service. I'm worried about Consolidated. So,
John?
Laura, could you say anything about the Vermont National Guard deployment to Saudi Arabia or Iran?
what? My opinion of it?
Well, you mentioned you know what's going on? I think there's also fighter jets from Burlington involved.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you could explain what's going on?
So I believe that the F-35s, I believe others have independently confirmed the Air Wing, which has F-35s, the Vermont Air Guard, has been deployed. They were deployed to the Caribbean and then were deployed to the Middle East. So those of you who receive emails from me, there is a pretty active effort for defend, this legislation called Defend the Guard. I've had a tremendous amount of outreach about that. It would require the governor to assess whether or not the orders that are coming to the National Guard, the federal orders that are coming to the National Guard, are legal. And if they are not, it would require the governor to prevent the Guard from being deployed. So I've just sent something out with my assessment about kind of the technicality of that, and whether or not I think it's legal, or doable, or effective. I do think that Congress should be doing a much better job in terms of their role in this. And this administration is not the first time. The last time that Congress declared war was in World War II. So this is a problem where we are getting disconnected from the people in terms of deployments. So I understand the angst around this. I don't think that there is enough support to see Defend the Guard pass in Vermont. There may be enough to see it get a hearing. So.
Very Pete.
Is there any push for any sort of housing in the rural areas? Because I know a lot of younger people would still like to live in the rural areas, but there is no, everything's about the big cities, housing coming there, blah, blah, blah. Is there any push to have some sort of affordable housing in the rural parts of this area?
So the question is there any push to have affordable housing in the rural parts of the state? There are young people that would like to be here that are having a hard time finding homes. So there are two things that I would note. One is the CHIP program that passed last year, which is for, it's a community program which would allow a developer to work with the community on financing the infrastructure that's necessary to build housing developments. So that could be sidewalks, water, connections to wastewater, electric infrastructure, parking lots, etc. So that passed last year. I feel hopeful about that as a tool for housing developers. In terms of rural housing, so I want to be very, very clear about the language that is used in the legislature regularly. I hear in the legislature this phrase: we have decided that we want housing in downtowns and villages. Okay, Vermont. And so that is, I often question who is we, but that is how our land use policy is designed. So remember, I started with Act 181. 181 looks to remove regulation, Act 250 regulation, from development in downtowns and villages that have infrastructure, like water and wastewater. So to try and make it easier to build in those places. And the flip side is, outside of that, we have right now a road rule that is about to come into effect, which will be applicable throughout the entire state, and Tier 3, which are sensitive natural areas. Those places will automatically be required to go through Act 250. So there are small places where there's public infrastructure in downtowns and villages where we are removing regulation. Outside of that, we are increasing regulation. So you'll have to decide if you think that's helpful or not for housing.
Kia?
I'm curious what you think of the tax reform bill that is being, I'm not sure if it's been introduced or will be introduced into the House and Senate.
It's only right here.
Okay.
It is in a wealth, kind of a wealth income. So, and the reason it's only right here is I don't think the governor would ever sign such a thing. I don't think the votes are there to override the governor. And so I have to think about, do I want to spend time on a statement? Sometimes I say, yes, I do. Or do I want to try and make sure other things are happening? So it's not, it hasn't really reached here yet. Happy to follow back up. And again, maybe provide some information around coming out here.
Any other questions? Oh, Patty?
Just back to the Act 250, I just want to make sure I understand the implications for Jamaica.
Yeah.
We do not have that municipal infrastructure, correct?
That's right.
We do not.
So we're outside of that. We're in the
That's right.
more regulation, not less. So this really affects us
That's right.
in a very specific way. Okay,
That's
thanks for the
right.
clarification.
That's right. And I think folks would say Jamaica's a town that floods a lot, that the town is very environmentally sensitive, and we want to make sure that anything that's built there is built to last and that you have water and wastewater. That would be the defense of that. But yes, I think you're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Other questions for Laura?
I
Teeny?
have a question.
Yeah.
I live directly on Two Rivers. I was just curious whether anybody's gonna keep dredging that Ball Mountain Brook past the bridge on Depot Street because it directly affects all the people that live below it. So it's been dipped into beautifully by Hunter right up to that bridge, and then after that it's just a flat, full of rubble thing that's gonna just flood as soon as that rush of water comes down. There's no place except for on everybody's land for it to go.
Have you seen any dredging here?
Yeah, we did. That's more of a question for the Selectboard though, because they're the ones who
sorry.
would handle that.
I just thought
That's not a
it's
state
a
thing.
state thing.
That's a local thing that we work with. We've worked with FEMA on.
Okay, sorry.
So,
Okay.
yeah, good question though.
Thank
Clara.
you, everybody. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, we're.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Oh, and just really quickly, there's still some seats in the front.
Yeah,
There's a
guys,
bunch
if you
of
wanna
people
move up,
against
there's
the
some seats
wall.
up
There's
here
like
particularly.
comfy cushion seats in front.
Well, hide in the back. That's fine too.
Seeds. I was like, where?
Yes, there's like 6,
Up
7,
next,
8, 9.
Erica Bowman's going to, our poet laureate of Jamaica, is going to be reading a poem, Knitting in the Round.
Hello. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I started, as I do every so often, knitting again. And it's like I can't believe I didn't bring it with me, but I would have loved to have shown you that the current thing I'm knitting is a hat, which is on a circular needle, which inspired the thinking about knitting and all of the many ways that you can look at it. And anyway, it inspired this poem. It's called Knitting in the Round. I was delighted to see my friend in his hand-knit sweater vest with the slightly crooked neck at candidates night. It had an intricate design and vaguely puffy sleeves which made him look gallant, like a prince or a knight from another time. And he wore it with an easy assurance, without pretension or self-consciousness. After all, it was made by his daughter, which was all the more sweet. It takes an awfully long time to knit a sweater vest. Earlier, at the Stitch and Bitch at River and Rye, I met a new friend who gave us pointers. While we cast on the wool for our new red hats, she told us that it was men who had originally invented knitting, back in Egypt or maybe Mesopotamia. Admittedly, I thought to myself, well, they got the credit at least. But sure enough, beside me there was a tall, handsome man knitting still, as if the arc of the centuries had no impact, or perhaps that we had already come full orbit once again, where men could be men just sitting and knitting in circles of friends. Either way, He would soon be done in a new sweater vest himself, or so I hoped. Over at the spinnery in Putney, where I had procured the red yarn, the air is perpetually thick and stinky of lanolin and pasture. Spinners work in small batches with wool acquired from local farmers on large, spiky, formidable machines. And despite the finished skeins arranged by color and gauge, and the sweaters that demonstrate the patterns they've made, this place feels more factory than showroom, a modern-day woolen mill, a vestige of the once booming textile industry that encompassed this state and even our own little town. And it seems amazing that it wasn't even that long ago that these tree-filled hills were cleared for pasture to feed the merino sheep. My neighbor, 100 years old and possessing a longer range view than most, once showed me a photograph of my own wooded copse that of course had once been his. From the old stagecoach inn to my house on the hill, 'twas nary a tree. They say that in the 1830s there were more sheep than people, and the hills were clipped as close as scalps. But the stone walls that stitch across the landscape became boundaries and monuments of great importance, regarded by haywards and fence viewers and surveyors. And the forests we now praise as ancient are actually adolescent. Fortuitous regrowth, a quiet apology to the woodlands of yore. I think about this while I count my stitches, circling around and around and around. Is this cycle like a cyclone, I wonder? Or is it a patient, curvaceous architecture built from a single stitch, loop, pulled through loop, pulled through loop? I guess it depends on your perspective, on your own position in the fabric of time. Soon enough, I look up from my knitting and gaze around this very room and think, here we are again. I lament at the passing of yet another year, but then I pick up my yarn and continue my round. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. We're going to go on to Article 1, to elect a moderator for a term of 1 year. Do I hear any nominations?
I nominate Tom Tolbert.
Tom Tolbert has been nominated for moderator. Do I hear any other nominations? Other nominations? Hearing none, I'm closing nominations. Can I have the clerk give one vote? I can't do that. Sarah, would someone give one vote for Tom Tolbert? Sarah Wiswall gave one vote for Tom Tolbert, and Tom Tolbert's elected moderator. Thank you, folks, for having your trust in me for another year.
Who was the second?
Patrick was second. Yes. Sorry. Moving on then to Article. Oh, first thing I wanted. A couple of guys. Thanks for all coming on this cold morning. Again, my role here is to facilitate the will of the body, the voters of Jamaica. This is your meeting, and I'm here to facilitate your wants and needs. Once an article has been moved and seconded, we can then have a discussion about it. I'm asking that please keep those discussions to the article at hand. We'll have time to talk about other things at the end of the meeting for open, just for other things. When speaking, before speaking, stand up and please state your name very clearly so we know who's speaking. Each person in the room per article will get one chance to speak, and then once everyone else has had their opportunity, you can have a second chance to speak. Please, try to be civil to each other. We're all neighbors here. We want to make sure we want to be kind to each other. When speaking, you're addressing me. You're addressing the moderator. There are not to be any side conversations, and members of the body are not to directly respond to each other. We're only allowed to vote on articles. You're only allowed to vote on articles if you're a registered voter in the town of Jamaica. If you haven't picked up your paper ballots, please go see Sarah and Heather and do that. All votes will start off as being voice votes from the floor. If it's unclear if an article passes, then we'll go to a hand vote. If that vote isn't definitive, then we'll go to a paper ballot vote. At any time, 7 members of the body can request a paper ballot vote. When we're doing the paper ballots,
I want everyone to come through the center, come up to the ballot box, which is to the front here, and then exit towards the sides. Please, of course, only vote once. If someone needs help depositing their ballot, please let me know, and I can have a justice of the peace or Rob Willis, Constable, come and bring the ballot up for them. Please don't bring someone else's ballot up. And lastly, please let everyone silence their cell phones. We don't want any phones going off during our discussions and such. And lastly, the bathrooms are in the back for people who don't know that. So thank you for all coming today. It was a cold morning. So moving along to Article 2, to review the town report. Do I have a motion? Olivia. Second? Second. Andy Coyne. Thank you. Any discussion on the town report? You want to call the motion?
Call the vote.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Hearing none, we're going to call the vote. All in favor of accepting the town report? Say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Article passes. On to Article 3, to elect the following officers as required by law. First position is selectman for the term of 3 years. That position is currently held by, I think it was, who's that held by? That was held by Andy Coyne. So do I have any nominations for selectmen for 1 year, for 3 years, I'm sorry.
I nominate Robert Brooks.
Robert Brooks has been nominated by Karen Amadin. Do you have a second? Terry Utel, second. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'm going to close nominations. All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Can the people stand up when they're nominated?
Yeah, if you want to. That's Robert Brooks.
I'm Robert. Hi, everybody.
Robert was appointed select board, what, about a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
so therefore. So all in favor of Robert Brooks?
Aye.
Robert passes. Robert gets the 3-year position of selectman. Thank you, Robert. Next position is select person for term of 1 year. This position is currently held by, I think it's by Kate Ullman. Do I hear any nominations for select person for the term of 1 year?
I nominate Kate Ullman.
Who seconded? I'm sorry. CJ seconded. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'm closing nominations. All in favor?
Aye.
Kate Ullman, thank you, Kate, for the select person of 1 year. Third position is a select person for the term of 1 year. This position was held by Christina Robinson, who is resigned. Do I hear any nominations for this position?
And was filled.
And was filled by Jason Koss last week. So, do I have any nominations for a position of select person for 1 year?
Chrissy made it up.
Chrissy, you nominate Jason? Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor of Jason Koss getting the select person for a term of 1 year?
Aye.
Congratulations, Jason. Next position is for the lister of a term of 3 years. This position is currently held by Pat Melmans. Any nominations? Pat Melmans?
I nominate Pat Millman.
Karen Amadin nominates Pat Melmans. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor of Pat Melmans for the lister for the term of 3 years?
Aye.
Next is for the constable, for the first constable for the term of 1 year, currently held by Rob Willis. Do I hear any nominations for constable of 1 year, or first constable for the term of 1 year?
I'll second it.
Rob Willis has been nominated. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor of Rob Willis for the first constable for the term of 1 year?
Aye.
Thank you. For the second constable for the term of 1 year, currently held by Ben Williams. Do I hear nominations for second constable for the term of 1 year?
Nominate Ben Williams.
Ben Williams declines. I'm his,
Yep. Okay.
I'm his spokesperson.
Yep. Any other nominations?
Anybody interested?
Anybody?
I'll nominate Eric Bowman.
I decline.
Erica respectfully declines. Anybody?
It's not a big job.
Yeah. Clara?
Yeah.
Did you have?
Could the person explain the job?
Basically, yeah, I mean, Rob, you want to explain that because you're the first constable?
Pretty much we become glorified dog catchers. So when I leave town, then the second constable fills in. So if there's a state police call or someone calls about an animal that's been missing or found on the road, then sometimes you need to go there and pick the animal up and go to the Humane Society with the animal, or try to use the list and bring the dog back to its owner. So it's pretty easy.
Yes,
I
Erica.
nominate Andrew Schmidt.
Andrew Schmidt has been nominated for second constable.
I second.
Any other nominations? All in favor of Andrew Schmidt being elected second constable for 1 year? Aye.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Next position is Trustee of Public Funds for the term of 1 year. Currently held by Rob Willis. Do I hear any nominations for Trustee of Public Funds for the term of 1 year?
I'll nominate Rob Willis.
Rob Willis has been nominated. Any other nominations?
You need a second.
You had a second.
I had a second back
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yep. Hearing none, all in favor of Rob Willis being elected Trustee of Public Funds for the term of 1 year?
Aye.
Agent to deed land for the term of 1 year. Currently held by Andy Coyne. Do I hear any nominations for the agent to deed land for the term of 1 year?
I'll nominate Andy Coyne. Andy, you're going to be around because you'd actually have to sign some deeds this year.
Andy Coyne has been nominated. Do I hear any of the nominations? Second. Chris. Do I hear any other nominations for the agent to deed land for the term of 1 year? All in favor of Andy being elected?
Aye.
Thank you, Andy. We're cruising through these. Library Trustee for 2 years of a 5-year term. Currently held by Mary Lou LaMarche Daushi. Do I hear any nominations for Library Trustee? Term of 2 years out of a 3-year term.
I nominate Siobhan McDermott.
Siobhan McDermott has been nominated. Okay. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Siobhan being elected Library Trustee for the term of 2 years of a 5-year term? Aye. Okay, she's been elected. I also, and I will take responsibility for this, there is another library position open, but it was not warned properly. So if you are interested in being a library trustee, talk to either Madeline or the board, and you can be appointed to that position. So unfortunately, it's not being warned, so we can't vote on it today. I apologize for that. Article 4, to see what sum of money the voters will vote to pay the town's running expenses and how it will be collected. Do I hear a motion?
Did Bonnie? Yeah.
I will make a motion that we spend a total of $2,221,138.13, of which $1,604,873.17 will be raised by taxation for the running expenses of the town. And this, along with the anticipated revenue of $616,264.96, equal total budget of the $2,221,138.13. And payment will be due on or before October 1st, 2026, and all unpaid taxes will become delinquent on October 2nd, 2026, with an added 8% penalty, plus starting December 1st, 2026, interest at the rate of 1% will be added until paid in full.
Do I hear a second? Second. Greg Jolly, seconded. Does anyone want to discuss this?
Yeah, what was that?
Those numbers were the numbers that were proposed in the town report and the budget.
Patty, the budget's actually in the report.
Right.
If you have any questions.
Okay.
Yep.
Who decided on the 8% fee?
The state. That's a state fee. We don't have any control over
That's
that.
by statute.
Yes.
Yeah.
My name is Jean, I have a question. Is there a town accountant hired to do the validity of these numbers?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Sarah Wiswall's the treasurer.
What's the question? Is there a town accountant that the town hires to validate the numbers?
No, myself and the select board do the budget.
Well, we have an auditor.
We have
There's
an
an
outside
auditor.
auditor, yes.
Right.
They'll check it after the fact. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
We have an outside auditor.
Who checks everything?
They haven't checked it yet. They will, yes.
Thank you. Last fiscal year's audit is in the report.
Other discussions, other comments, anybody? You call vote?
Move the question.
Move the question, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? The budget passes. Article 5, to see if the voters will authorize the select board to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a
Greg Jolly moves. Seconded?
Second.
Second. Rob Willis. Any other comments, any other discussion on that point? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 6, shall the voters authorize the select board to spend unanticipated funds such as grants, gifts, or other interests? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Dana West.
Second.
I have a question. How are those things defined? Like, can you give any grant, or is there some parameters? This just feels a little open-ended to me. I know I'm new here, but that's why I want to understand what it really means.
You want to talk? You want to address that, Jessica?
Yeah, Patty, you've asked this, the question has come up before. So you see that the language is in quotation marks because it actually comes from the statutes. If we don't follow the statute, then we arguably we can't utilize the definitions that are there. But it's what you would expect if we can. We often do throughout the course of the year. There's some folks in the audience that also participate in obtaining grants for us. If we don't do this at town meeting, we can't apply for those grants and spend the funds. Actually, we could probably apply for them, but we wouldn't necessarily have clear statutory authority to spend them. I think we were talking about the water study, for example. There is one remaining grant, piece of money that we applied for last year or the year before, I can't remember now. And we can spend that because we passed this as a town, this ordinance. I mean, I can afterwards. I can send to you the statute.
Money in, money out, not just like I like a grant to improve my deck. It's not. We're not going there.
No, I mean.
I just didn't. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, and by the way, the select board takes these actions. So come to meetings, Zoom in or come to meetings, or you would see it as an issue. Typically, it would be on the agenda. So if you see, approval of a grant application, if you want to know what that's about, just come to the meeting or Zoom in.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jean and then CJ.
I agree with the statement that was just made. This is an open-ended article number. And so I would like to suggest that the select board change this article from the open-ended statutory language and put in a list of priorities so that the public knows what it is the select board is thinking needs to be done.
Okay, what you can do, you can ask to amend this, but this has to be voted on as warned. We can make amendments to the article that was warned, but we can't change the article in this meeting.
So can I suggest?
You could suggest, you'd have to suggest the list though. You'd have to say,
I want to suggest
Okay.
priorities of
Okay.
select board action. Right.
So we're going to be voting, so what we're going to do, so I need you to make the motion on the amendment. So you'll make a motion that you want to amend this article, and then the body can vote on that amendment if it's voted up or down, and if it's voted up, then it falls, then we go back to voting on the actual article with the amended article.
You're right. I amend this article so that, in a way that the selectmen will list the priorities, clarifying the unanticipated funds such as grants and/or interest, to be more specific.
Okay, priorities. Okay, did you get that, April? Thank you. Do I hear a second on that amendment?
I'll second it.
Can you reread that back?
She motioned to amend the article with a list
Of
of uses to clarify. I don't remember the rest.
To clarify the priorities of the select board using the unanticipated funds such as grants, gifts, and interest. So basically, she's asking for a list, the select board to come up with a list to clarify what those things are. Seconded. What's your name? Mike Lewin. Okay. Discussion?
Yeah, on that, I'm the grant writer for Grace Cottage. There are all kinds of, there's money available from state and federal agencies to take care of a lot of infrastructure projects. There are things that only towns can apply for, including right now congressional appropriations.
CJ, I don't want to cut you off, but we're talking about the amendment here? Okay.
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
And what concerns me about the amendment is that there may be opportunities that you have to pass up because they're not listed in the priorities.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, thank you. Mary, did you have your hand up?
That was the same thing I was gonna say. It's
Okay.
unanticipated, so you don't really know you're gonna need it to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Teeny?
I was just trying, maybe I could make a suggestion that if it is a significant amount of money, that we have a warning or a notice posted. And that's all. And if someone wants to say something, then they're warned or noted. And then you don't have to amend anything. You just kind of got to put it somewhere so everyone knows about it before you do it.
Thank you. So
We
right
do
now,
that.
we have...
We put it on the agenda for the select board meetings, so just, it's posted around
So-
the post office and, yeah.
So right now, so we're going to be voting on the amendment to add a list of priorities from the select board that will discuss, there'll be a list of priorities to what the unsupported funds, grants, and gifts and interest are for. That's the motion that's on the table, is the amendment. So, sorry?
Would this obligate the select board to do that?
Yes, that would obligate the select board to come up with that list, yes, yes.
Would that list be strict, like they can't go past that?
That's correct, yes, that's what I'm understanding from the amended article, yes.
Greg?
Yeah, Greg?
Oh, yeah, Jason.
Jason, I'm sorry. I missed
Yeah,
you.
just as a possible alternative, it could be an amendment to say that any of these funds collected are spent in a manner that's consistent with how they were given to the town.
You could propose another amendment when this is done, if you'd like to do that.
I'd like to add too, I mean, me being the road commissioner, I kind of coordinate a lot of the grants that come through the state and FEMA. And the key word in there is unanticipated. We have, obviously our role is to maintain the roads as an example, but we can't specifically say we are going to apply it to this. I mean, we see needs, we see grants, and we connect the two. It's just very, very hard to sit there and anticipate an unanticipated fund.
Any other discussion on the amendment? I'm going to call the question on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Say aye. Opposed? Nay. The amendment fails. So back now to the original Article 6. Shall the voters authorize Select Board to spend unanticipated funds such as grants, gift, and/or interest? Do we have any more discussion on this? This has already been, okay, calling the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Article passes. Article 7. To set the time for the opening of the next annual town meeting to be held the first Tuesday in March 2027. Do you hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Madeline. Second?
Second.
Drew Hazelton. What's the date on this? It's the 4th next year, right? Do we know?
That's the one thing I didn't write in the book.
It's the 2nd next year. Sorry, it moves the other direction. Okay.
Yes, March 2nd.
So March 2nd next year, we've talked about moving it to Saturdays. I know we moved it to Saturdays. It hasn't been, I don't think the turnout was any different. I think it was a lot of the same people here. The motion's on the table to have it on the 2nd. Does anyone have any discussion about that? Want to talk about that?
Yes, the person said set the time for the opening. Do I
Time.
have time in there?
Does 10 o'clock work for people?
That works for me.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
I'm just saying, you might want to include that in.
Yes.
The time.
Sue?
Sue Stomsky, what is the process in order to possibly have it changed to a different time? There are a lot of young families, I'm looking around, and there's younger people here now, but there are a lot of the younger generation that live in town that are working today. And they would love to be involved in the politics of Jamaica, but they can't. It's not just this, it's the town clerk closing at 4 is also difficult, and the post office closing when it's at their time. So there's a lot of that stuff. But what is the process we need to do to possibly get it on next year to change?
We select it right now. You're
You
here
can do
right
it right
now.
now.
We can do it right now to say what time we want to do it for next year. Yes. Like I said, we've tried in the past to do it on Saturdays, and the turnout wasn't any different. And it was the same complaints. I have kids in school, I have to work. Saturdays came around and people didn't come. I'm just saying from history, we did it a couple years at the town garage during COVID, and people didn't show up. So. But I'm not saying either way. You know, it's your decision as the body. Yep. Some people have it in the evening. I know that some towns have had select board last night. Brookline and Vernon had theirs last night. They do an evening meeting. Vernon's went till 12:15 last night. So if you're interested in that, that's up to you guys. So the motion is on the table to do the meeting the first Tuesday, March 2027 at 10 a.m.
Anyone want to date?
Question has been moved. All in favor of that time and date?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Article passes. Article 8, to transact any other business that may legally come before this meeting. Can I get a motion? John Began, second? CJ? To talk about anything else in the meeting?
Open discussion.
Open. So right now we're here to transact any other business that may legally come before the board, before the meeting. Does anyone have anything to talk about? Nelson?
Nelson Coleman. I just have a couple questions. One of them is about the deficit we had back a couple years ago that we sat on for a long time, and then we were supposed to come up with an audit, and we were supposed to move, it was like $1 million or something like that. Did FEMA money take care of that, so that has been erased, or is that still sitting on the boards?
So do you mean the flood fund deficit? So yeah, remember last year we voted approximately $500,000 to be placed in that fund. You'll see the change when the audited financials come out, because that's where you see the status of the current funds.
Okay.
Yes.
But
Sarah's
got an answer here. Sarah.
We are budgeting $25,000 a year is line item 200 for the FEMA repayment from Irene. So
Okay.
that's where you're gonna see it in the budget.
So do you know where the status is of what's left on that $1 million or whatever it was?
I can get it for you.
Yeah, it doesn't
I don't have
matter,
that.
but we are working on it.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
And then
The
the other
auditors have
question,
been very, you need to do this,
Oh,
so
that's what I thought.
we're trying.
it's just, it won't show up until we see the auditor's report. then?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then the other question, I'm sure it's just a maintenance thing, but a fee on the transfer station for $95,000, is there gonna be a bunch of repairs taking place up there this year?
Yes, I can answer that as town administrator. We have an RFP out. Hunter has accepted it. We'll be pulling down the awnings and rebuilding, basically regrading everything, rebuilding everything, and building it back up. It's really in disrepair right now.
Okay.
So that is going to start in the spring. Teeny?
Is
this a good time to ask about that dredging of the rest of the river?
Yeah, you can talk. Yeah, you can ask that now. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Anyone have any thoughts? I spoke personally with Hunter, and he told me there was no access to that part of the river, which I own it. So I will be
Where are you
happy-
saying, downstream? Oh,
Yeah.
on the other side of the
downstream
bridge
that
where the
So
rocks are, where the swimming hole
danger
is?
is that there is a huge amount, just like what happened is the whole mountain came down that river and deposited itself right where Jamaica started, all the way through the town, all the way down to where the West River meets it, right? And we were very great about dredging a large portion of it up to the river on Depot Street. And it's a nice, well-made thing. After the river on Depot Street, it's flat and full of rubble that up to the edge of everybody's lawns. So you have a ton of water that's gonna come down in the spring. It's gonna hit all that stuff that didn't get dredged, and it's gonna spread out on a lot of our properties, mine in particular, and of course, my neighbors, and just anybody that's down and experienced that flood, and we all had to remove our animals that time when the dam was having so much. I do not want to relive that, and I
Yeah.
just want to know if anybody had mentioned that.
Well, the dredging happened, was that part of FEMA funding? Yeah, Greg can speak of that, I'm sorry, I'm
Coordinating
I have
the
multiple
FEMA
roles.
projects. That, the debris removal, FEMA, dredging is a four-letter word in FEMA terms, so,
We
but
didn't do
anyway.
that.
So
We didn't dredge.
we removed debris. So we actually were able to define, and luckily, we were able to define a project to remove that debris within the village. Because of infrastructure and whatnot, bridges and homes. Obviously, your homes are down there too. We were not able to define a project to remove the debris down lower. I'm not denying that it doesn't need to be done. But it could be worked on. I mean, it would be very, very, very challenging to get the funding for it. This particular, just that small section in the village was over $500,000. And which was wonderful that we were able to get that. And not to say that we can't look for grants or things like that. I mean, it's well beyond anything that we could do ourselves. But we should be looking at things like that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I can look into it too, as town administrator, I can look at grants and things to see if I can find anything. But again, it's going to be getting the money to do it. We all acknowledge that there's a need to do it. It's just trying to find the funds. So.
The other thing, I would just say one other thing, which is that Scott Jensen, who's the person from the state who is, you met him.
Yes.
He issues the permits to access the river and make those changes. He was, I mean, obviously I'm concerned. It was like we all, you know, the Meadows Road crew, we were, yeah. He felt at the conclusion of the $600,000 project that we were able to complete with federal funds, that work is going to improve our situation. Channels have already sort of naturally been created there. And he felt that there would be continued improvement behind your and the Hunt's house and around, basically impacting all of us. No guarantees, but he definitely felt that project ameliorated our situation. It doesn't mean it wouldn't be great to have another $200,000 to do the rest of the work, or $250,000 roughly to do the rest of the work.
I can't imagine that level doesn't bring money. Like I can't believe that fill doesn't bring money.
So we can't sell it, but Greg.
But we can, I mean, it did bring value.
It brought,
we were able to use it on our roads.
We used it on our
and
roads.
Build up our
right.
roads.
We can't sell it. We can
so
only.
we can't offset the cost. I mean, it still would be a cost, but we could apply it and improve other areas.
Teeny, what I'll do is I'll follow up with Scott Jensen about this, and I'll talk to him, because obviously
if they want access through my land all day long.
Okay, so as Jessica said, Scott Jensen said he believes that what we've done will mitigate to some degree the flooding lower down on the river. I will follow up with him on that and get back to you, okay?
Hi, I'm Barbara Daly on West Jamaica Road, and I just wanted to address, you said you used it on the roads, and I wanted to thank you many times for improving.
So much better.
Thank you to a lot of people, especially our road crew. I mean, they
Yeah, the
worked
road
hard to
crew.
get through all those things over the past few years.
Mary?
Yes, I have a question about the dump and the changing of how the dump is going to be done. I was told by two different people that they're changing the way it's done. So is there something we can talk about that? There's a difference in the price, difference in the bags, difference blah, blah, blah.
You talk about the bags, you're talking about the actual construction?
No, the bags and the cost of the bags.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes.
The question was regarding what changes are happening at the dump regarding bags and tokens, and I'm going to defer to the select board on that. Kate Ullman.
So we have ordered tokens, which will be instead of bags, so you don't have to use bags. You can use a cardboard box. You can use paper bags from the grocery store. You can, so we're not going to be selling bags anymore. We still have some left, and we would hope that people would continue to use them till they're gone because they were expensive. But we have purchased tokens. We'll have green tokens, which will correspond to the same size as the green bags, and yellow tokens. All of the tokens are from recycled materials, which will correspond to the size of the yellow bags, like 13 gallon and 30 gallon roughly. And so we haven't set a price yet. We have to do that probably next month.
Yeah, watch the agenda for select board meetings if you want to participate in that.
Eric, I'm sorry. What's your name?
Betsy Thomason.
Betsy Thomason. She's next, and Erica, you're next.
Okay. Oh.
You're up, yeah.
Regarding the transfer station, I was there on a very cold day a couple of weeks ago, and I was concerned about Ernie's health up there in a cold, frigid environment. In this reconfiguration or whatever of the transfer station, will there be any warm place or safe place for the attendant to stay for 4 or 8 hours?
He has a heated shed.
He has a
heat in the shed, in his
But
office.
more than the used exchange house is larger than Ernie's shed. You can turn around in it, and I don't know. I'm concerned about the health and welfare
We have
of
talked about,
the people who attend.
Whatever happened with that? We had talked about increasing the
Years
size of
ago.
that. Did you guys?
Years
Yeah. Do you know
ago.
what?
I think the cost of other improvements, but yeah, that's something to consider for sure.
Erica?
I just wanted to go back to the bags for a second. Could you bring a trash can without bags and dump it into the thing?
Yes.
Oh, so it's actually potentially could reduce the is that?
Yes.
Was the
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what we're hoping. That's the idea, yeah. And,
Okay.
and at least one citizen already does that.
Thank you.
Karen?
I have a couple of things, mostly about all the activity that's been going on in Jamaica. Jamaica Community Arts Council has been working really hard at providing yoga in here and exercise, and we'll be working on more activities in here. The library does movies and all kinds of exciting things. Jamba is putting trails into the Ball Mountain Dam area, and we're working on other trails. We have a calendar. Tom has a community
It's
calendar.
on the calendar on the town website. Yes.
And we're posting a lot of things on the Jamaica Community Arts Council website, Facebook pages. It's on the Jamaica Facebook page. The Rossonville Schoolhouse, we have a committee that's working on that to try to gain access to have programs and things like that up there. We're going to have an open house probably in May. You'll see things about that. The Jamaica Historical Foundation will be open from mid-May till mid-October. So pop in and see us. People are donating photos. They're donating memorabilia, articles and things. A couple times a week we're getting things. It's really quite wonderful. Jamaica Day is Saturday, August 15th. Think about what you can put in the parade or how you can help, or just come and enjoy the day. I know there's a lot of other things that I'm forgetting, but we've got a lot of exciting things happening. We have a lot of new young folks that are moving into Jamaica. And this is sort of getting into the whole education bit of it, and I'm hoping that Drew will talk in just a second, and maybe Dana. We need to talk about the school and what's happening, which Drew will mention. But what do we need for our community for the next 20, 25 years? And how do we keep these young folks who have moved into town staying here? And what do they need?
Andy Coyne.
May I go back to a couple of things?
You can go back, yeah, you go back to the dump.
Am I going to be able to still use bags if it be my choice? Okay.
There's no bait and switch here,
All
yes.
right,
You'll be able to
that's
use the
okay.
bags until your bags are gone, that's
great.
correct.
And
yeah.
like for demo, you can use contractor bags, it's a whole different thing.
That's different, that's with that's the other tokens, which we already currently have here.
I understand that. So back to the question about the, what was that called, Greg? The $600,000 debris removal. I mean, maybe Tom can comment on this, but I've seen some pretty high water hit that. I mean, not the highest, but it certainly seemed to handle it a lot better, especially on his part.
I rest much easier. I will say that the dredging or the taking of the debris out of the brook near my home it's transformative. I mean, the river would always raise up close to the road when it was at flood stages and when the rain and such. And since then, it hasn't ever gotten high.
And it does seem to fan out better. I know it's very concerning, but
Yeah,
it's
and I understand.
better than it did. And I just want to thank Greg, our previous assistant town administrator, and the board for really doing every single thing that the powers that be were asking them to do, and getting that last funding back, which was sort of not really rolling the dice, but it was a little nerve-wracking. But it with the town is all the better for it.
Thank you.
It's a huge improvement.
I just have a really quick question.
Yeah, CJ, that's fine.
So back to the tokens, do you have a timing for us? Can you tell us the timing for all these?
They've been ordered and they said it only takes 1 to 2 weeks to get here, so they should be here soon. Again, we are hoping that people will continue to use the bags because we don't want them just to sit there. They do degrade over time and we spend money on them. But yeah, it will be very soon that you can, I'm thinking we'll have a grace period where you could use either. We haven't really decided for sure.
And you buy them the same place?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is very soon?
Yes.
Okay.
Very soon, and again, we probably have four or five boxes of the yellow bags left. It's not a ton, and I know Forrest will come in for West River Provisions and buy 20 or 30 boxes. And I think in a box is 40.
And
So I
lots of
mean, in a
green
couple of
bags.
weeks, we're gonna be pretty much out
Yeah,
of
we
the
have more
yellow
green
bags at
than
the town
yellow.
office. And then at that point, hopefully we'll start to transition then. That's my goal as town clerk. Yes?
Hi, and I just wanted to carry on. You said you're not sure of the cost, meaning you're considering raising the price of each level?
We haven't decided on the price yet. I did also want to mention that construction bags will not be allowed. They don't work well in the compactor, so you're not allowed to use construction bags in for the regular household trash. So you have to go into C and D.
Here's a question for you though. If you bring it in a construction bag, can you just dump it out?
Yes.
And take the bag back?
Patty, in the back.
I like two totally different things.
Okay, can we stick to the dump thing for now? As people
I have
winding
a
this down, are the questions answered? Jean?
No, I have a dumb question. Tom.
What date is the
I'm sorry?
select board thinking of having a discussion?
Oh, you did? I'm sorry, I didn't know, I'm sorry.
Too much going on.
What date is the select board going to list the topic of the bags and tokens?
Watch out for the agenda. It's published every Thursday.
The agenda is published on the website and at various locations around town every Thursday prior to the Monday select board meeting. So the agendas are online and they're also at the post office, at West River Provisions, and at the town office.
So it's not being planned ahead?
The agendas for the meetings are generally, I receive those as town clerk on the Thursday before the meeting. So those, Jessica creates those usually that week before the meeting, yeah. That's generally how it works. Oh, sorry, Patty, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Patty, go ahead.
I have lived before in a place that has pay-as-you-go dumping and recycling. And I think it's factual that as you increase the price, you price out people's ability to use that service. And I'm concerned about that people will not be able to afford to bring their garbage to the dump and dump the way we want them to. And so I would love for us to look into some kind of discount support grant program for people who meet some criteria to help support them in using this facility. Because what happens when people can't afford to dump is they dump wherever they think they're not going to get caught dumping, and it increases some of the costs for the community in the form of garbage pickup and just unsightliness and unwanted rodents and so forth. So I would love to see us find a way to support people who may be priced out of the new structure.
I second that. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the comments. Chris, did you have something?
Yes, I'd like to go back to what Karen was talking about, just in relationship to Jamaica Day. I'd like to ask anybody in this hall if they would be part of our Jamaica Day preparations. Seems like there's like just 4 of us, 4 women are the only ones right now, with the exception of Greg Jolly, and that seem to be doing any of the work. So I would love anybody who would like to get involved to get in touch with Karen, please.
Thank you, Kristen.
I have a question about the compost bins, please. You ask us to compost, and I do, because I can't do it at home because of the bears. And, but we don't get to, when it's, I know that they take it and that they actually do compost it so that you get nice dirt. And why can't we go someplace to get some of that?
Yeah, Winter Solid Waste down in Brattleboro sells it, and they have a huge operation. They've done a whole lot of work on the composting, and they do sell it down there.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Okay, is it very expensive?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
Clara.
This is, I understand it's not a compost question, so I don't know if anybody wants to hear it, because it looks like that's very popular. I have a question for the board. When the people, I don't know their names, but anyhow, come down Depot Street with the new poles all the way to the state park, what's your plan for traffic when it's summertime? Because I was speaking to one of the gentlemen that's in charge of it, and he said he had nothing from the board that said that there was going to be campers and whatever. I said, you know, there's going to be a traffic problem. He said that won't work. Have you discussed this with him?
What? I'm not sure, because we do, GMP comes to meetings.
They're going to continue to go all the way down to the state park.
Right.
And they're going to do it this summer.
Right.
So at the same time, every camper that comes through, the big campers that come through are going to use the same road. And when I spoke to him about it and asked him how that's going to work, he said he had no idea. And this is the
I don't know.
person in charge from Pennsylvania, right?
Normally they come to the board, they tell us what their plan is, they say the dates and times. We work with them to publish those, particularly in the area that you're talking about, which is adjacent to the park, because some folks on the other side of the existing bridge can get stranded. So they all have to be notified. That group gets notified separately. And then in terms of any time that the road is going to be obstructed or partly obstructed, it's not that the town itself does not actually manage that traffic. GMP does. But they do tell us that they're going to be going down to one lane, etc. So we haven't had an issue in the past.
We had the general meeting where they said what the project was.
Right.
They told us about the projects at the meeting.
Right. But then they also
couple meetings ago, but we didn't get the
say
specifics of it. Yeah.
exactly when they're coming, what the hours are, the days, and then they put up the flaggers, etc. cetera. So I'm not sure, it might be helpful just to know who you spoke to, because that's not consistent with what.
Several people, because they're gonna put a guy wire down on what property they haven't signed something for that.
Oh, that project.
So,
Okay, yep.
that's the person that's in charge. It comes from, I think he said Pennsylvania or something. Anyhow, and when I mentioned that State Park is very, very busy in the summer and there would be big campers going through, he said, this is not gonna work because we can't take things down. So he asked me if there was another way around, and I said, yes, but you need to speak to the select board. So maybe there needs to be, if you have the name of the person that came to.
I have his name. I can contact him and find out. I'll get more information from him. Thank you, Clara. Because we can figure that out then.
Because if it's gonna go around.
It's a tough turn though,
Well,
too.
people need to know where the traffic from, where the state park is gonna come.
Yeah.
I'm just
Okay.
saying, it's something that could be acknowledged.
Okay, I will look into that. It's town clerk. Town better. Other, I'm sorry, who? Oh, I'm sorry, John.
My name is John Began, and I would like the town to consider supporting these two resolutions. The voters of Jamaica, Vermont condemn the current activities of ICE operatives and call on the U.S. Congress to defund and abolish the agency as it now exists. And the second one is the voters of Jamaica, Vermont condemn the war against Iran and call on Congress to invoke the War Powers Act and that the president bring our troops home now.
Unfortunately, it's not being warned.
No.
As articles, we can't vote on those that are any binding resolution. You have to warn articles such as those beforehand. Is that?
Isn't there a way to do an unofficial
We can unofficially do it, but it's
Right.
not, I mean,
opinion sort of
we can do an
thing?
opinion that we
Right.
feel that, but it's not
Right.
anything binding
Right.
because it's not warned.
But you need to read them out separately, like we'd have, because it's two separate
Yeah.
articles. I mean, the resolution.
And again, it's just a consensus of the town
It's
that
a-
we agree
right.
with this. It's not something that's going to be binding or anything like that.
Right, right. Do it. Did you want to
Did you
do
wanna
it?
do
Did you
that?
want
It's
to
just
stand
a-
and do the first one? And then see if there's a second?
Yeah, read the first one. Read the first one by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The voters of Jamaica, Vermont condemn current activities of ICE operatives and call on the U.S. Congress to defund and abolish the agency as it now exists.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, second. It's been seconded. Does the town want to, all in favor of that? Aye.
No.
Against?
No.
Couple of nays.
Second vote.
Then read the second one.
The voters of Jamaica, Vermont condemn the war against Iran and call on Congress to invoke the War Powers Act and that the president bring our troops home now.
I second that.
Second.
Any discussion? Close the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
No.
Ayes have it. Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Heather?
In connection to the state park that you brought up, there is a meeting tomorrow in Townsend to discuss what's happening, development plans for Pikes Falls.
Hamilton Falls.
Hamilton's Falls, excuse me, thank you. It's at 6 p.m. For some reason, it's in Townsend.
I think because they have a
But
big town.
it's really important, and Amos should speak on that.
Amos?
We've been in contact with the state, and they have told us that they do not have a plan for
Can you
Hampton
speak up?
Falls.
Yeah, please.
The meeting tomorrow night in Townsend is about the long-term plan for Jamaica State Park, not including Hampton Falls, they say. They often.
Right.
But didn't they first announce it as being about Hamilton Falls and then later said what you're saying?
I can't keep track, but I know my wife Alana and also my sister-in-law Dion have been in touch with them, and they have said more than once, this is not about Hamilton Falls. They didn't tell us anything about that. They don't have a plan about Hamilton Falls yet. This is about Jamaica State Park.
Okay. Thank you.
There is a notice in the front window, the little box outside that describes the meeting, the time and location. And a lot of us are carpooling. If anyone needs a ride, I'd be happy to pick you up.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. Any other items to bring up? Madeline?
I just wanted to say a few things for the library. I'm Madeline, I'm the town librarian. As part of the budget that we all passed today, the library will be expanding hours, and we hope to be open a little bit earlier in the mornings and more consistently, hopefully every day, for at least a couple hours. So keep a lookout for that. And also this summer, we will have 3 bicycles able to be rented with your library card for free. So just make sure to keep an eye on the website, jamaicabtlibrary.org, or pop by the library anytime. I'll be there.
Thank you, Madam.
Oh, sure. I'm in the midst of applying for a very large grant for the library through the Vermont Department of Libraries, all the way up to $400,000, but it's to insulate the library, to hopefully make it so we can use the downstairs of the library. And do a new HVAC and improve the accessibility of the building. So like making sure that the ramps are safe and the doors have automatic openers, and things like that. So it can be available and used for years and years to come, and it won't just kind of go into disrepair.
Thank you so much.
I've got a question for Road Commissioner / Highway Department. On the fire department, we've got a returning call on Pikes Falls Road. Been 6 times somebody's gone over the bridge, the first bridge on Pikes Falls. Coming down from Stratton, their GPS reroutes and it saves them 3 minutes. Going home to 91. They don't see the turn, that it's a 90-degree turn, and instead of going down the driveway, they try to make the turn, jump over the guardrail that's been hit 6 times, and just laying flat and land in the river. We get called out, it's a waste of our town's resources to go deal with that. Is there any plan to fix that guardrail and increase visibility on signage for that corner coming down from Stratton?
That is an excellent point.
There's not specific, I mean, a very, very good point. I mean, there's not specific plans for that. We could easily enough go put up a new sign. I can probably, without being surprised to anybody, it probably won't make a difference.
Right.
But we can easily put up a new sign and take a look at the guardrail again, you know, once the snowbanks melt and whatnot. I know it's been beat up.
There used to be some kind of light flashing or strobing, and like I said, the guardrail is destroyed at this point. People are going to keep ramping off of it.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you for those comments. Rob?
Just a reminder that dog licenses are due April 1st, and that's not a town thing, it's actually a state law. So if you see dog owners, remind them that they need to get their dogs licensed, and they can do that at the town hall.
Town office.
Oh, town office, excuse me.
Karen again.
I would like a discussion on education.
Yeah, can I just remind everybody,
Okay.
first of all, that the meeting has been warned for April 8th. We were asked by the school board, the West River Unified Education District, to vote as a town whether to close the school. And we warned a second article, which is that if, in fact, the town does vote to close the school, do we as citizens agree that we should buy that property back from the school district for $1? We also warned an information session for March 31st. It's the Tuesday before the April 8th election. The April 8th election is Australian ballot. It's not here on the floor like we do town meeting. Voting is open. What did we change it? 9 a.m. till.
That's 9 to 7.
9 till 7.
Yep.
And we could do
At the town office.
do absentee ballots too, right?
You can do absentee ballots on that as well.
You can do an absentee ballot as well.
That's a regular election.
Right.
That's a regular
Yeah,
official
and
election.
the information session is also at the town office. I do encourage people to come. There's a subcommittee of the select board right now that's in the process of preparing concepts. I mean, maybe, can I leave that to you, Robert? Do you want to just talk about the committee?
Yeah, so we have a subcommittee starting this Thursday evening, run by Jason and myself, and a number of people from the community who are looking at potential uses for the Jamaica Village School property if the town votes to close the school. It's more of a preparation. We're not talking about during this committee if we should or if we should not close the school. It's an if-and type of scenario. So we are just reaching out to community members. If anybody would like to join us, you can definitely reach out to myself or Jason. We're having our first meeting this Thursday, 7 o'clock at the Jamaica Village School. And anybody with an idea is welcome. More the merrier. I think the more ideas we get, the better off we're going to be.
What we heard from a lot of people was, how do we possibly, as a group of citizens, vote whether to take back the school if there hasn't even been a discussion yet of what the property might be used for. So, yeah. So that's what the committee is going to be doing, and that's what the information session is about for us as a town to contemplate that.
Jessica.
Oh, hold on, no. Sorry. Kia, you're next.
Sorry, could you just repeat when that March 31st info session will be, what time?
It's 7 o'clock at the town offices.
Okay.
Yes.
Jean, again.
At the select board meeting that I did attend, it was asked what the value of the school was to the lister, and it hasn't been done. Is there any new action on the value of the school before we have this discussion about what to do if the town votes to close the school?
It has been. It has been done.
So is there value now? Thank you.
There is a value. I don't remember exactly what it is.
You'd have to come into the lister's office and ask for the value. We don't memorize them.
So they're saying you could come into the lister's office. They're there tomorrow, 10 to 3, and they can give you that number. Other topics? Anything else? Olivia, did you have something you wanted to say? I'm sorry.
No, I was asking what time, she didn't say what time the meeting was, but.
Oh.
7, yeah.
7, okay, sorry. Anybody else? Something? Yeah.
What is the status of the town wastewater project?
Great question.
Wastewater project.
Ask us what is the status of the wastewater project in town?
Heard Londonderry got all the money.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much. Chrissy, can you talk a little bit? Thank you.
Chrissy Haskins, I'm the engineer for the wastewater project and for Londonderry also. So Londonderry got a bunch of money like 3 or 4 years ago. That was ARPA money, and unfortunately, it was all given out in 1 round. It was supposed to be given out in 2 rounds, and we weren't ready for the first round, so we were able to apply for the second round, but then they gave it all out in the first round. I complained to the state. They didn't. So we have the study done, and we have to do a final presentation still. And so actually Jessica and I just talked about that the other day, about trying to schedule the final presentation. We do have some extra money left over from the funding we already got, which is 100% grant. And so I'm going to be talking to the state about the possibility of taking that money and turning it around to use it on getting like the first part of the design done, just to get as much done as we can with the money we have. And then moving forward, there are some funding opportunities to continue design. It's not 100% grant though, so that's something that I'm going to talk to Jessica about, and I'm sure the select board will be talking about it then. So keep an eye out. There will be a meeting coming up to just finish out the study part of it, and that'll be the final meeting for the study, and then hopefully we can move into some design.
And so correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. So at that point, right, because there aren't federally funded monies that are available for us to attempt to capture, and it doesn't seem likely, at least with the current federal administration, that more funds are going to be coming into states like Vermont for these kinds of projects. we have the option to either sit and wait until maybe a future administration pushing out some funds, or we can always, as a town, opt for potentially, there are different options. There's like the lowest cost option and the highest cost option. So we can, as a town, potentially agree that we want to go with one of those options and to seek a bond. So we could finance it the same way the town financed the current town garage, which is that bond is nearly paid off. And so there are other ways that we could undertake that project other than federal funds, but it would mean the town is borrowing the money.
That is correct. The ARPA money is that kind of money comes around once every 10 to 15 years. The last time was the ERA money, which was back in 2008. So we had ERA money in 2008, we had ARPA money in 22. So that's the time frame we're looking at. It's usually triggered by some sort of major thing. So the pandemic, I think we had some economic downturns.
Right.
So we can wait for that money. It could be another 15 plus years. But the thing is that when that big pot of money comes out, because of some event that happens, the projects that get it are the projects that are ready for it. And so it's important for us to keep moving forward as much as possible and to put some sort of design on the shelf so that we're ready when that money does come. So it's a long-term schedule at this point.
Either way, don't we need the design?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
That's why we're finishing it. Or as much as we have money for.
Well, we need to review this. This is to get the town on water and septic, not what they're doing now, so they can expand. Is that
I
what
believe the
this is
plan
about?
was to get septic, not water. So people would still have wells in town, but the septic would be a shared septic, and that takes away all the regulations of the 100 feet distance between your well and your other. So that's what we're trying to do, is you take out that one piece, and that frees up people to expand capacity in restaurants or the store or whatever they want to do. That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Peter. So as I understand it, this project is, the whole town is going to pay or contribute for this whole project that's going to benefit a dozen locations in the downtown area. And so we're going to be, you're asking the town, everybody in town, to pay for the 12 people or so, or a dozen properties in downtown.
Well, we're not asking anybody anything because there are no funds that we're going for. The design includes funding sources, and it would, it's like all municipalities in the state of Vermont where there's.
He still has the floor.
So is there any other restriction? I know in a nearby town, a neighboring town, there's a water department company that was a private consortium between the landowners, and that solved their problem. Is there anything preventing this town from doing that same thing, the landowners here from joining together and creating that kind of an opportunity, that way the cost isn't shared by the entire town for the benefit of just the people in the downtown area?
Do you know what that is, Chrissy? I'm not familiar with.
So I'm not familiar with anything private, but there's some options the town has. So the town can, there's funding available, there are loans available. The town could choose to take out a loan to finish design and do construction. That loan then has to be paid back. So the town can choose that everybody in town, every taxpayer in town has to pay that loan back through your town taxes, or they can apply that loan to the users of the system only, and the users pay it back. So most towns, you go to, let's say Manchester, and they take out a loan to fix a sewer main. The users of the sewer system are paying for that. The whole town does not pay for that, just the users pay for that. Londonderry, with their new wastewater system that's going to be constructed, they have elected to have the entire town pay for the loan cost, and the users pay the operation and maintenance of the system. So each town can do it differently, and Jamaica can choose to do it however we want.
Thank you.
But those decisions haven't been made yet, correct? Right before, I'm gonna, anyone else have anything to say before we go into the school discussion?
I have an unrelated thing to say.
I was going to say something to his town clerk. I just want to let everybody know that the town office hours have increased. I know you said to 4 o'clock. The office is now open 7:30 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So we're still closed on Fridays, but it does give people time before they go to work and possibly getting off work a little early and coming in. I know that there was 9 to 4 previously, so we have expanded that significantly since I've become town clerk. So just so everybody knows that, coming in to say hello, we'd always like to have visitors. Erica, and then we're going to go to the school discussion.
Okay, I have a fun thing to announce. On March 15th at 3 p.m., there is going to be a fantastic event in this town hall.
Well, we have a conflict with that. We need to talk about
All right.
that.
Say it.
Sorry. I don't want to shut you down, but we need to talk about that.
Ask me secretly.
Yeah, ask her secretly. Sorry. But yeah, Drew, you want to go? Drew and Dana, please. Talk about the schools.
So Dana and I represent the town of Jamaica as part of the West River Education District. So that is the other part of your tax bill, the much larger chunk of your tax bill.
More expensive.
And in fact, the biggest chunk that you don't control of your tax bill. And I wanted to take a moment to explain where we're at right now with education. And if you want to come to school board meetings, we love attendance. So please come and join us. So just to bring everybody into the same place, over the years, Jamaica has decided to do certain things. So if we go way back before I was born, Jamaica became one of the Leland and Gray towns. So we joined a union school district, which was Leland and Gray. So we had a local school board, and then we had a Leland and Gray school board that took care of our high school kids. So for a long time, we had 2 different boards, 2 different budgets. They got merged, and that's what you paid your taxes on. Before that, Jamaica took care of all of their own kids. Fast forward a few years, and we, through a whole bunch of legislative action, we had some options to either try to get out of that or not. Ultimately, Jamaica decided to stay in, mostly because of how complicated it was to remove ourselves from that union school district. Fast forward another few years, more legislation brought us to merging governance. Much like Laura talked about this morning, the first step was merging governance, and you had to merge into like districts. Well, we were already in the district with Newfane and Brookline and Townsend as part of the Union School District, so we merged into what is now West River Education District. So West River Education District now controls education from preschool to 12th grade. It's one board that controls that education. That board operates currently 4 school buildings, one here in Jamaica, one in Newfane, one in Townsend, and the Leland and Gray campus. That West River Education District is part of the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union. The Wyndham Central Supervisory Union has other school districts that also are part of the supervisory union, including Marlboro, whose populace is being asked to close their school today. River Valleys, which is a merger between Dover and Wardsboro, and then Stratton, who's a non-operating district, and Wyndham, who's also now non-operating. So that's the structure. What's important to understand is that as this legislative process has happened over the last 20 years, responsibility keeps shifting. So more things, more responsibilities have been shifted away from local control here in this room. Like we are not voting on a budget here today, right? Has moved away from the school board and moved to, for example, the superintendent's office. So if you were to look at those budgets today, you're going to notice that a large percent of our local education budget is an assessment from the supervisory union that you guys don't get to vote on ever. I think this is really important for people to realize. That number this year alone, for us in West River Education, went up by over $700,000 in the assessment side. Now, that assessment went up because of offsetting revenues that were not coming from the federal government, but that assessment also went up because the school district and the supervisory union have been utilizing fund balances since the end of the pandemic to buy down tax rates. So this year alone, the supervisory union budget was bought down by $1.1 million in fund balance, and you guys had to kick in another $750,000. So that's impacting our local budget. We went through a very long process of budgeting this year with our district, looking at what our tax rate might look like if we kept programming the same. And we were looking at almost a 30% tax increase in your education taxes by taking that assessment from the SU and just level funding programs across our district. Ultimately, we did decide to come back to the town of Jamaica and ask to close the Jamaica Village School and the programming at Jamaica Village School with the intent that we could offer the same or similar programming at the other facilities, bringing down the total cost. Now keep in mind that we're reducing costs in our local budget, but we're not actually reducing costs because we had a massive increase in the assessments that came down to us. So if you were to go to one of our school board meetings and look at the spreadsheet that we were working with, every reduction we made in programming in our local district was offset by additional assessments that were coming to us. So it's a very difficult discussion. We tried to get through it with making as little program changes to kids as we can. Unfortunately, we don't get to control a lot of the expenses. We also brought down our own tax rate in our district utilizing fund balance. So we utilized about $350,000 of local West River Education District funds to buy down the tax rate. We don't know the final number yet because the legislature has to set that in June, but you're probably going to be looking at roughly a 10% education tax increase, even if the town votes to close the school, and even with all of the fund balances, which total about $1.5 million of buying down the tax rate. I want to bring this up because this is the last year of fund balance. The supervisory union has no more fund balance. The education district has no more fund balance. So next year, the full weighted budget is going to hit your taxes. Like there's no other levers that the boards have to pull in order to reduce the impact of education taxes. So that's the good news I have to share with you all today. And if anybody wants to come to a board meeting and wants to take over my board seat.
Can we also share that all of this information is actually on the website and it's very well presented, including the evolutions of the budget drafts.
So I got the pleasure of taking over as the chair of the West River Education District this year, and my goal has been about public transparency and making sure you can find this information. And we have we've been very aggressive with the administration about making sure that this information is available. So you can go to the website and see every draft of the budget meetings and discussions for West River. The documents for the SU are less clear, but better than they've ever been.
What's the website?
So look at Wyndham Central, WyndhamCentralBoards.org or Wyndham Central Supervisory Union, and it'll link to that.
You want to do the full thing? Because there's other entities out there on the internet. If you go WCS, you'll get sites you don't want to go to.
We just
I'll
talked
put a
about
link on the website to everybody, so there'll be a post and there'll be a link on the website.
a link, yeah.
And if there's any specific questions, I don't know how much more time, but I'll try to do my best to answer. And certainly, you're welcome to come to board meetings.
If you have spare time and you're interested to see where the state is, you can go onto YouTube and you can watch the state, House, and Senate education committees. They are discussing redistricting. There is a big push for regional high schools, centralized middle schools, and limited elementary schools. Like, they want them more or less centralized too. They want bigger districts.
Laura mentioned this morning, there's a couple of maps out. If you haven't looked at it, one of the maps would actually take this swath and combine us with the Bellas Falls area. Again, further removing governance.
Local control would be
and adding
bigger.
Basically
Not
takes everything
us.
from Win Hall all the way in like almost a square swath all the way over to Bellas Falls. We become part of a single district with that entire area. That's one of the proposals.
That's the House. The Senate has us lumped in with Twin Valley and Brattleboro, probably Brattleboro, because they wanted to base the regional high schools around career centers. And there's a big push for that on the governor and the Senate side. So we'd be lumped in with Brattleboro, Southeastern, Southwestern, Wyndham, and Central. And Wardsboro and Dover would be taken out of our district and given to over the hill, Manchester.
Other questions for Drew and Dana? Jean, did you have a question?
Thank you both.
Then Mary.
I've been watching you for a while, and you guys are eloquently transparent and on our side as people, as reader people. My question is, my understanding is there was a contract signed a while back that made the town of Jamaica unable to step out of the district. Do you guys have an access to an attorney who could help us do that if that's what the town decides?
So it's not that we can't get out. So the legislature created a process for dissolving these types of unions. And what it is Jamaica would have to vote to leave, and then all of the other towns that we're partners with would have to vote to let us out. So the process is clearly defined. It's just very, very unlikely that all of the other communities, because then they would fully accept the taxation. So it's not there isn't a process. The process is very well defined. It's just there's nobody that believes that would ever actually get through there. Now, that being said, the legislature, with what they're doing in Montpelier, may be changing that process and force dissolving some of these mergers through legislation.
Mary, did you have something?
At one time, I thought there was something that the state said that so many students that would go into schools every day, it was a large number, or something would happen to that district. I can't imagine that we have that number that they require. It's like 1,200 or some students a day.
There was originally, but they jumped that down to 2,000 to 4,000. Okay. But originally they wanted 4,000 to 8,000, 12,000.
Right.
So put it into perspective, our entire supervisory union only has 600 children. So we're not even close to the minimum sizes that they're kicking around in Montpelier. So again, there's definitely more changes coming because every time, and we've been watching kind of the movement up there, when they talk about minimum size for a high school or minimum size or class size or minimum, whatever their new minimum discussion of the week is, we don't seem to meet any of them. They're definitely not designed for rural communities. And their answer is, well, then we'll just move those kids to more urban areas. And some of the busing guidance that they put out, they're accepting an hour-long busing as reasonable for elementary and 90 minutes for secondary.
Yeah.
So these are some of the numbers that are kicking around as part of this policy discussion up in Montpelier. So it's very possible that through this, there could be an expectation that our kids are on buses for a very long time.
There is some talk of eliminating school choice. The whole thing. They feel there's a push for public education. High school trying to give AP classes and they only got 5 kids. Well, it's because the kids that would be in that class have school choice. See, they're looking at, you could do early college. Well, they're talking about doing away with that, which gave kids opportunity to get programming that they couldn't get in their high school. we're fighting against each other in a way, either, you know. So the school choice question is even coming up to where they may abolish that.
So what can we do as a community to support you or to make better choices that don't take things away from our kids and put them on buses for 3 hours a day? What can we all do? What action can we take?
So a lot of those decisions right now are out of our local hands. So contacting Laura, Emily Long, who's the youth aid representative, sits on House Education. So again, continue to communicate with our legislators in Montpelier. And then locally on the board, we want to hear from people. We've got some really, really tough decisions that are happening now. We are having to downsize staff. We are having to make decisions that are affecting kids. And we don't have a choice. So we've started, when the enrollment started dropping, so Jamaica Village School used to have 100 children in it. We don't have 100 children in that age range across 3 towns now, right? It's just, we just don't have the kids. So as we continue to consolidate and make it smaller, the grades that are coming in are smaller than the grades that are going out. So our population, and the way that the formula works, is based on per pupil spending. Our per pupil spending this year, we were through some sort of formula anomaly, and we're not going to tell the state about it. Our make-believe student count, our per pupil students, actually went up, even though that's not the way you count children.
It's not a one-on-one.
And I'm just going to, hang on, let me just back up a minute. Yeah. It probably sounds like I'm confused, right? Everybody in the room, if I asked you how many kids were in the district, you'd go in there and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That is not how the state of Vermont counts kids. There are some kids that are worth less than 1. There are some kids that are worth more than 1. And we have, oh yeah, preschool kids, by the way. Anybody here ever tried to manage a preschool age child? They only count as 0.4. Yeah. I can tell you that in my house, that was like a 2.0. But anyway, so there's these different weights. So even though we only have, roughly, 400 kids, we have a per pupil count that's 817. And it changes, and these weights all change. So that's a major part of the formula. But they change the way they count the kids every year. And so this year we got pretty lucky because our make-believe kid number was a little bit higher, which means our total per pupil spending went down because that's how you divide it up. Total spending divided by number of students. Next year, that's going to drop. There's no question in my mind that our total number of students is going to drop, which is going to make our per pupil price go higher. They reinstituted our penalty last year. So every dollar we spend over the allowable, we get taxed twice. It's a 100% penalty that the state is imposing on us. Now again, this is designed, in my opinion, to hurt rural communities because it's impossible for us to provide quality education and stay below this threshold. So now we have to pay 2 to 1 for every dollar that we spend over it. The other thing they changed is it used to be that infrastructure, bond payments, and things like that were not counted in your per pupil spending. So you could make changes for efficiency. So we, for example, could reconfigure one of our buildings, become more efficient, and the bond payment to that reconfiguration was not considered. They took that away from us. Every improvement, every capital investment we make, all goes into the per pupil spending. So they've handcuffed us in the world of innovation too. So the idea that, hey, we could become more efficient if we just, modernized our building so we didn't have to have 4 principals. Well, that bond would drive us over the threshold and we'd be paying double taxation on every dollar over it. So there's a lot of things like that are at play. The other pieces that you guys have to remember in Jamaica is that we have a CLA that is 0.48.
0.48, I thought.
48.
Yeah.
Which means your property valuations they consider to be roughly half of what they should be. So Montpelier came up with a multiplier this year, which is 0.77, I believe. So now we have a make-believe number of students, a CLA that's low, a 0.77 multiplier that was added to it, and then the legislature is going to pick a yield sometime between now and June, and that's going to set your tax rate. So that's why I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be. They like to tell us all that the spending decisions are local. If anybody can figure out that formula and tell us what that local decision is there, I would love to hear it.
Patty, did you have your hand up?
I just want to know, are we better off with more fake kids or less fake kids? I'm like,
More fake kids.
More fake kids.
Yes.
In fact.
Yes, the more
Red kids.
Yes, the more. Yes.
Because you want to be able to give them that.
It's, and if anybody, we had a nice discussion at Jamaica Village School earlier this winter. If anybody wants like the real details as to how the formula works, I will go through all the numbers with you and show you where it works and how we came up with the budget. It's one of my favorite topics, so if you want to come, we'll go through that. If you want to come to board meetings and tell us about programs that you really don't want us to cut, next year's going to be a brutal budget discussion because without fund balance to buy down the tax rate, we know that we have contractual obligations for raises. We know that health insurance is going to go up again. You guys are going to be looking at tax increases next year that you've probably never heard of, thought about, and certainly don't want to see.
Any other questions? Christy?
So, as Drew just mentioned, there was a great meeting that they had a few weeks ago. Drew did a great job giving us all of these details and even more details at that meeting. And there was about 20 people there. We had a great discussion about all of this. We really encourage everybody to get involved, reach out to Drew and Dana and get that information. It is really important right now. And if you're not following all of this, you really need to start, because it's going to affect our town a lot more than, Burlington and the larger towns. A few friends of mine and I got together and started a Facebook page. It's called Southern Vermont and Rural Communities School Forum. And we're not picking sides there on any of this, but we're just getting information out. We're sharing news articles, we're sharing snippets of the legislative meetings. There's people behind this page that are doing a lot of the research for everybody so that we can make it easy for people to stay involved and stay up to speed on what's going on. So if you want to join that page, we try to do the work for you and keep everybody in the know.
Thank you. Any other questions for Drew and Dana? Sue?
You mentioned that the supervisory union's budget is a hands-off thing. How do we change that? They seem to be getting a helper for a helper for an assistant for an assistant. They seem to be making up positions to fill it, and there's nothing we can do. So we're having to cut programs, and they're adding staff. So we're taking away from the kids, which is the purpose of them. How do we fix that? Is that what's done all over the state? Is their budget put into it and voted on by the super board prior to anything so that nobody can touch it?
So our district runs the same as it does everywhere in the state. So what we're doing here is consistent. So the supervisory union budget is voted on by representatives from each of the school boards. So I do sit on the supervisory union board. Anybody that's watched the meeting knows I voted against the budget, and for many, many reasons. And the major reason was that the budget was introduced to us, and they called a vote on it in less than an hour without explaining what they were spending the money on, which is obviously why I had to express my opposition to it and vote against it. There's a lot of things that the state has mandated have to be in the superintendent's budget, the largest one being special education. So that used to show up in a local budget so we could see how that money was being spent. Now it's lumped together for the entire SU, and we're apportioned a chunk of it. So we have no idea whether that money is being used to educate our kids or somebody else's kids. And again, that's a legislative mandate that it has to be done that way. I think part of what this redistricting and mapping is about, is trying to shrink some of that supervisory union structure. We've got 4 superintendents in Windham County. And again, the superintendent's offices they're very well-paid positions, far better paid than the teaching staff positions in most cases. And we have a lot of that administrative overhead is coming down to our local. So just to put it in perspective, there are 89 full-time employees at the supervisory union level in our district. So they're superintendent. They are not teachers. Now, some of those provide teaching staff, so some of those are special educators, but those are not the classroom teachers. The classroom teachers and the principals of the building are in your local budget. That's what you guys have to vote on the, whatever date is.
The 8th.
The 8th. You guys have to vote on the local budget on the 8th.
April 8th.
April 8th, which is the local teachers and the principals that are in the local buildings. The assessment we have to pay regardless.
All right, any other questions? Any for them? Thank you guys so much for talking about that. Any other business to bring before the body?
Just a reminder, since we didn't use our paper ballots, to just hand those back.
Yeah, bring them back. Just hand them over to Sarah and Heather. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to entertain a motion to close Article 9. Moved by Greg Jolly, seconded? Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Peter? All in favor of closing Article 9?
Aye.
Article 8, rather. Article 9, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Greg Jolly, Peter second. Closing the question, all in favor of adjourning? Aye. Meeting's closed.
Excellent discussion.